On August 25th, 2023, Honkai StarRail opened up the doors for a brand new discussion. Instead of releasing a brand new character with a whole new backstory and motives, they took to repackaging a previously established 4-star and giving them the 5-star treatment. Donghung Inhibitor Looney, or DHIL for short, is a character that continues to topple almost all of the tier lists. And while he's certainly not as good as Jing Liu, he is the definition of meta character. And because of this dragon-shaped splash of a release, a lot of people are discussing what character is most likely to get a 5-star counterpart next. So as StarRail's qualified story guy and certified yapper, I've decided to come out of the woodwork and give the opinion nobody asked for. Today I will be telling you what 4 characters I think will get a 5-star version. Additionally, I'll be telling you why I think this and what I think their kits will look like. Now this is usually the part where creators give rules as to why they pick these characters. However, I know you guys probably don't give a shit, so if you actually do care, just check the pinned comment. Starting things off with the obvious, March 7th is definitely going to be getting a 5-star counterpart sometime on Penacony. This is pretty much just a fact at this point. I don't think anybody's gonna argue with me on it, so I'll just very quickly go over the reasons why people think this. For starters, Penacony is the land of dreams. It is a land that has been funded and fueled by the memories of its previous inhabitant. Meanwhile, March 7th is a character who does not remember her past, to the point where she named herself after the month and day that she finally thawed from the ice. So chances are, at some point on Penacony, she's gonna have the ability to see her old memories. Now there are a few smaller reasons as to why people would think this. For starters, at the end of March 7th's companion quest, you had a unusable light cone gifted to you, and Penacony is the place where light cones are created. During the Divine Provision event, of the 15 potential characters that could appear on those cards, March 7th was the only one who wasn't a 5-star. And continuing on the trend of being the odd one out in a band of 5-stars, she is the only person on the Trailblaze Express who is a 4-star unit. All of that being said, it is looking very likely that she's gonna get the good old DHIL treatment. Now as for what March 7th will look like, I imagine her being an abundance unit that has the unique ability to turn overhealed HP into shield. Now the conversion ratio for this would absolutely not be 1-to-1. It would probably be something to the effect of 1 for every 0.25. Now while this ability does sound kind of overpowered, especially in Simulated Universe, one thing that I think is integral for this character to succeed is the ability to cleanse. If a character cannot cleanse or doesn't have any way of resisting a debuff, it's just over for them. They're gonna go the way of Bailu. Oh, and one final note on March 7th. In the event that she gets a 5-star version, she's not gonna be called something like March 7th Awoken. She's just gonna be called by her actual name. You know, the one that she currently doesn't remember. Next up, we have another very obvious one, and that is Ting Yun. Now, I know a lot of you people are probably gonna say Cope because you think I actually give a fuck about pixels on an emotional level. However, the reason I'm saying this is because I firmly believe that if Ting Yun doesn't come back to life, then her entire existence in the Lofu was shit writing. As it currently stands, Ting Yun was the doppelganger of a character we never met who was also the plot twist villain. I know that a lot of people say the sit minigame was when she was abducted. It's not. After you collect all of the things she leaves behind, you can literally see the trail continue exactly where it left off. Additionally, Fantilia wasn't always Ting Yun, because that fan item existing means she either staged an abduction on her own clone, which is very unlikely, or B, there was a real Ting Yun and there was a struggle. Finally, upon meeting Ting Yun for the first time, or in this case Fantilia's puppet, she claims that she had just gotten on the planet mere moments before you arrived. And assuming that's true, that means the real Ting Yun is likely off doing business on another planet somewhere, which is probably the very same planet Luocha was at before he arrived on the Lofu alongside Xu Shuang and Donghung. Now all of that being said, assuming we stick to 1 4-star promotion per planet, that means we'll likely see Ting Yun get a 5-star version some point after Penacony. And I'd even go as far as to say we'll see her get 1-2 planets out from Penacony, just so everybody has enough time to forget about it. Now as for what Ting Yun could potentially do, I have no fucking idea. Ting Yun is already a character who is so good that I feel like doing anything aside from just making a better Ting Yun just wouldn't feel right. Realistically, the only things I can see is either Nihility or Hunt, but those don't really feel correct. I say Hunt because that's what the people on the Lofu associate with, but Hunt characters usually aren't that great, Sela. And in the event of a 5-star Ting Yun somehow having less value than the 4-star, it would be the laughingstock of the community. Not only because of how good the 4-star is, but also because of how long we would have waited for it to be revealed. You know, I don't know, dude. Just choose your own adventure on this one. I don't care. Alright, now that we got the two obvious ones out of the way, let's go into the more juicy ones, with the next one being Herta. I'm not sure if this is common knowledge or not, but the Herta that we see is not representative of the actual Herta. According to Genius Society member number 83 herself, all of these clones walking around are only roughly 70% of what she actually looks like. This means that somewhere out in the grand cosmos there is a real Herta, and in the event that she ever shows up, she will probably be a 5-star. Of course, there is one problem with that, and that is we actually need a reason for her to bother showing up, which is a bit problematic because she is very self-centered and very finicky about how she spends her time. So now the question is, how do we justify her actually showing up? Well, you see, that's quite easy. Simply hit the entirety of the space station with an EMP, make it to where all of her clones go down, and then have an enemy of an unspecified nature threaten the integrity of the simulated universe when none of the other Genius Society members are able to help. And in the event that you do all of this, not only do you have one hell of a 2.5 questline filler, but you also have a reason for the woman to show up in the flesh. Now, as for how this 5-star Herta would work, I have an idea. Just know that it is very comically overpowered. So do you guys remember Ethereum Lord? So during the Pokemon event, you were able to get the Gatekeeper as an ally, and this ally had a very special ability where after proccing its ultimate, it summoned 2 smaller enemies to fight by its side. These smaller enemies were also enemies that you were able to use individually if you were a psychopath. However, when the Gatekeeper summoned them, they acted independently, kind of like Numby. They had their own icons in the turn cycle, and upon their turn, they hit the entirety of the enemy team with an AoE attack. Additionally, if you managed to proc the ultimate before it ended, you were able to get another set of 2 fish to summon alongside you and help you fight, which effectively turned the battle from a 4-on-4 to a 4-on-8. And this gimmick verbatim could very easily be exactly what we see in a 5-star Herta. Have the actual Herta herself present on the battlefield, and then upon using her ultimate, she summons 2 of the 4-star Hertas to fight alongside her. It would be broken as fuck, but considering the fact that Herta is literally a F rank in anything except pure fiction, I think she's kind of long overdue. And finally, we have come down to the last character, with that being Sampo of the Masked Fools. I firmly believe that Sampo is far more powerful than he lets on, and anybody who so much as taken a cursory glance down the Sampo rabbit hole will likely agree with me on that one. For those who don't know, Sampo has the power of Aha. Now you may be wondering how I know Sampo is blessed by Aha, and that's very easy. It's because both him and Aha are very smooth talkers that can break the 4th wall. And anybody who's blessed by an Aeon inherits some form of their powers. We've seen it with the people on Lofu, we've seen it with Cocolia, and we've seen it with the Trailblazer. So while it's cool that he has the powers, we still are lacking proof that he's actually going to be relevant in the story going on. Much like everybody else, he has to have a narratively important reason for actually showing up. We keep going back to Herta, March 7th is always with us, and Ting Yun's fate is entirely up in the air. That's what makes them qualify for potentially getting a 5-star. So what does Sampo have? Oh, you know, nothing major, only a small issue of him being omnipresent everywhere that we go. Literally the only place where Sampo does not show up in one form or another is the space station. We all know that he's in Bellabog. He left one of his bombs on the Lofu, meaning that he was there before you, and in the Penacony trailer, we see him throwing hands with the Trailblazer after they shapeshifted into a trash can. That's a sentence I thought I'd never say. And even beyond all of that, the main reason why Sampo is gonna get a 5-star is because he doesn't need a reason. That is the whole character dynamic of anything with the Masked Fools. They don't need a reason or a rhyme to doing anything they do it because it's fun. If Sampo thinks it's gonna be fun to start fucking people up, oh baby, he's gonna do it. That's just how he does things. Now as for what a 5-star Sampo would look like, I have an idea. It's comically overpowered, but it plays into his character pretty perfectly. A 5-star Sampo would be based around the idea of fun and rule breaking. I see this version of Sampo being a destruction quantum unit that can take as many turns as he wants so long as he has skill points. Every single time you use a skill point, he chucks one of his many Tinker Toys at the enemy for a max of 3 per turn. Now this doesn't operate like Daniel. It's not an all or nothing thing. You can choose to throw at one enemy and then choose to throw at another enemy in the same turn. Additionally, you don't have to commit to using all 3 skill points. points. You can just use 2 and then do a basic attack after. However, in the event that you use 3 skill points, you do not get a basic attack. Also, every single time that you throw one, he gets a little bit stronger. Not a substantial increase, maybe like a small 10% per throw at a max of 20. And as for the items he throws, it could be either his blades, his little bomb bouquet, or just a standard smoke grenade that inflicts poison on the enemy. He's random, he's fun, he's flexible, he does a lot of damage, and he would fit perfectly on a mono quantum team with Sparkle. I know that Sparkle and Sampo allegedly don't get along in lore, however, given the fact that mono quantum is something that the community has been talking about for ages that people find entertaining, I think we can let it slide. Especially since that would mean the mono quantum team would entirely consist of an optimal 5-star lineup. And if this all sounds overpowered, yes, because this character would likely come out in like 5.3. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are the 4-star promotions I see us getting. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. I'm out.